Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Matt and welcome to, well, Assetto Corsa EVO. We're finally here. It's been, who knows how long. But, of course, as the title of the video states, as we're back with our series, how does it run on the Steam Deck? So, of course, we are in, if it's going to load, come on now. Here we are. We are in SteamOS. We go back to home, Assetto Corsa EVO, and don't ask me again. Let's try to launch it. See how this goes. Well, this is always a good sign. We're getting the spinning logo instead of an immediate black screen. And we have sound. At the very bottom, we have version 0.1. I think technically 0.1. We're online. And we have a garage. Yes, that's fine. We are in. So, of course, here's how it's going to work. We immediately go to settings. We want to go to video. So we are at 720p, 16:9 aspect ratio. I like to have vertical sync on just as it's prevents tearing. I think for these tests, we'll turn it off. With graphics, we'll apply that. Graphics, we are going as low as we possibly can. FSR 3 on performance, multi-sampling, so no anti-aliasing, no FXAA, and anisotropic filtering is off, texture pool is low, level of detail is low. I mean, you can kind of see where we're going here. Just absolutely everything is all the way to the left if we can have it that way. Motion blur we might play around with a little bit because I was originally just annoyed with how some games motion blur look. But Digital Foundry had actually made mention that sometimes motion blur is able to, in a way, mask some of the detailing in some of the edges, so it actually makes the game perform better. I know this is an absolute layman's term of how it goes. So we might play around with that a little bit. So again, everything is off or low if we can have it that way. We'll go single player. Practice in the Abarth 695 by Posto. And we'll see how this goes. All right, this is the first, I'm going to be honest, this is the furthest I've ever gotten in this game so far. After waiting about 2 minutes on my first try, I quit out of the game, restarted the Steam Deck and everything. But this is kind of in line with what we've been seeing online so far. The game is in very early access. A lot of people are talking about how it's not very well optimized at the moment. So our poor Steam Deck, it's definitely running. It kind of this is oof. How many frames are we getting? Not many. I've reminded myself that we have the performance overlay, so after letting it load for a little bit, we're actually getting much better frame rate. Yeah, as you can expect, GPU is just full tilt. CPU is actually not doing too bad. VRAM is a solid 8 gigs. RAM is 10 gigs. Oof. We're running hard today. Oh my god, the quality. Oh, no. Alright. First gear. Yeah, we don't have a pit limiter on right now. So we are just going to get all the penalties for this. And here we go. I am actually quite surprised that we're here. I was not expecting us to get to this point, but we are driving. And dare I say it, we actually have some pretty stable frame rate right now. I mean, at a just looks absolutely horrifying with the FSR 3 being used, especially in performance mode. That has a tendency to make things look absolutely just horrible. But we're trying to get the highest performance we possibly can out of this at the moment. The most amount of frames. It looks like GPU usage has actually come down by about 10 to 12%. CPU usage has gone up about 10%. In frames, we are anywhere between 37 and 57. Kind of depending on where we are in the track, I imagine. But yeah, I am actually quite surprised that we've gotten to this point. So I think this is a good starting point. I think this is where we start going through the settings and changing them. So I think we'll start with 30 frames as our base. I think that's going to be a very good spot. I think we'll also start pushing FSR 3 towards a quality preset. I see it did not like that in the least. How does this look worse than balanced? I think I actually have to like slow down here. Hold on. Just let the game get its bearings. Oh no. Right. Let's see if we can rectify this situation, because this is not good. And look at that. It actually came back. So FSR quality is not very good. So that means we can try settings. Go back to 30 frames. So this is rather interesting. We cut the frame rate in half. There we go. Now we're starting to get solid 30 frames, but it looks like quality has in fact still actually plummeted from where we were originally, from FSR quality down to balanced, and now even in balanced mode at 30 frames. It's really interesting watching all this happen in real time, where like for the first 30 seconds the game is trying to figure out what it wants to do. Turns out this car understeer, sorry. So the game tries for like the first 30 seconds to figure out what it wants to do. And then after it like running through, it's like, oh, okay, this is the settings that they had, and this is, okay, now I understand. So I'm trying to figure out what that is a function of. Because most of the time when you play just games in general, when you make a graphical setting change, it pretty much happens instantaneous. So, interesting. So I'll now do the forbidden thing at this point. We will see how native resolution is without any upscaler technology. I can't imagine this is going to go well. Well, I was correct in that. It's just we have a solid 0 frames a second now. There we go. My cursor is finally back. I'm not even going to hit resume because it's just going to be a bad experience if I can't even get out of the frickin' menu. This is not good. So like I said, this is in extremely early access, so I was not... First of all, the fact that it's even playable, technically speaking, in SteamOS makes me incredibly happy. But as you can tell, it's not really good. For it to even be minutely playable at this point, we have to do everything is all the way off. FSR 3 is enabled on balanced mode. And depending on your viewing of frame rates, 30 frame limit is okay. I think you'll get a between about 29 and 28 generally. If you're okay with fluctuating frame rates, I think it would be all right to leave it at a 60 frame rate limit, and you can kind of get on average at about 40 frames realistically. But yeah, like I said, my expectations were low, but Jesus. All right, hold on. This is with the FSR balanced, and it's interesting how we're having these wild fluctuations where we're at 4 frames and then suddenly we get up to like 40 and then we're back down to like 4. Yeah, I'm just gonna, yeah, that's not gonna work. These frame time graphs are so interesting to watch. I've never seen anything like it. So as we can tell here, this is technically playable, as we are getting 55 to 60 frames a second here, and yes, the quality is absolutely atrocious, but keep in mind how other games look at 720p on like a 7-inch, 8-inch screen. A lot of this detail that you see, a lot of these errors, a lot of this just kind of grossness, oh god, you really won't see when you're down at 720p. This is interesting though. Why is it that very certain portions of the track are just terrible for this? So I figured this out with Forza Horizon 4, that sometimes the game is trying to push the GPU really hard, and then it overheats, and then it pulls it back, and then it tries to push it hard again, and then it overheats and then pulls it back. I figured out that by adjusting the manual GPU clock and or adjusting the TDP limit would kind of force it to a certain baseline where it's like, hey, you're not going to go as fast as you want to go. We're going to cap you at a certain point. And that normally is able to, actually weirdly enough, even out some of the bumps. So we'll see if that is the case here, or if we've got some more substantial programming issues going on. So again, we're going to wait a little bit for it to take an effect, because for whatever reason, it just seems like this game is like that. And the results are inconclusive. This might just be part of the track that it's okay on. And then we might get to a different part where it just has a massive issue. So we're going to keep our eyes on that frame time graph over there. 44 to 51 frames on average. GPU is at about 90%, at 71 degrees Celsius. Our CPU is still in the low 30% of usage there. So yeah, it's... At this point, I am not calling this game playable yet. I mean, yes, it is technically, but it's just the experience that you're going to get from it is not really worth the $31 that it is. Yes, of course, this game is one of those games like every other game that's being released nowadays, where this is in early access, and the developers have clearly stated that it is not at all going to be the actual representative. Are you good, transmission? Can we discuss what's going on there? Like every other game studio, this game is in early access, and we'll eventually get a more finalized, more optimized version far into the future. But this is a very interesting test with this so far. I think at this point we're going to try out a different car and a different track to see how this is going to go. Well, good news, that load time was a lot better than the first time around. I don't know if it's because the game has been running that it's more okay, and I'm not even going to question it. I've got so many... The more questions I ask, the more questions I'm going to get in response, so I'm just going to leave it. We'll see how this goes. This is a unique experience. It's definitely a way to describe it. What the hell? This is, so some courses and some car combinations just don't work. Period. That's kind of surreal. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try. This is... Frames are way too low, and if I open it up, it's not gonna be a good time. Bummer. So I think that being said, that will be it for today. We tried the Abarth 695 Biposto on Mount Panorama, and that went okay. And then we tried the Ferrari 496 GTB in Brands Hatch Indy, and that just didn't happen whatsoever. So as we've said multiple times, this game is an extremely early access. It does technically run on Steam Deck, which was kind of a surprise, but as far as, you know, the performance, as you can tell here, it's really hit or miss. It's so weird to see such drastic fluctuations that will happen at just a random moment's notice. On a track, you'll be just fine most of the track, you know, for Mount Panorama. It's sitting at about like 56 to 60 frames, not an issue. And then that just opening forested area just kills it. No particular reason. So, for those wanting to stick around, I imagine this game will definitely get better and more optimized as the years go on. But for right now, yeah, I think I might just refund this. This is just not a playable experience at the moment. So I'm going to wait, and hopefully we'll get this game on sale in the future sometime. Then we can come back and take a look after a couple updates. But right now, it's just not looking good. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We've got another Steam Deck review next week. I want to say it's going to be Tokyo Extreme Racer. That one's been in the works for a while, and I'm hoping that that's going to be a little bit better of an experience in Assetto Corsa EVO at the moment. So again, thanks so much for watching, and again, we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.